With all the debate around Milwaukee Streetcar, have you ever looked at the HOP and wondered, how is the city paying for its part? It turns out the city is relying on an unusual option. To understand it, you need to know about tax increment financing, or TIF. So here's how it typically works. First, local officials create a tax increment district, or TID, where property values are expected to rise due to new economic development. Next, the city issues bonds for improved infrastructure to encourage that development, or in some cases, the developer makes that investment directly. If all goes according to plan, the new development will increase the district's property values. That allows the city to collect more property tax revenue and have it go to these investments rather than to the usual city services or other local governments like the county and school district. That extra funding, called the increment, is used to pay back the TIF bonds or developer investment. Once it's all paid back, the TID is closed out, and property tax collections go back to local governments and the school district. Municipal governments in Wisconsin have used TIF for decades to attract private development to specific areas. In the past, it's been used to clean up blighted and contaminated properties, or to invest in new roads to make sites work for industrial use. More recently, it's been used for other purposes, like grants to make it economically viable for businesses to build offices downtown instead of in the suburbs. So, where does the HOP fit in? Well, TIF is the primary local financing tool the city is using to develop it. In our new report, On the Right Track, we looked at 9 other cities that have recently built streetcar systems. We found that most of those cities paid for their streetcars with a mix of federal and local funding. But Milwaukee was the only city to use TIF as its primary local financing source. One main reason is that many tools that other cities used, like temporary local sales taxes, aren't allowed under Wisconsin state law. Now, there's been a lot of debate about the value of the streetcar itself, and we take no position on that. Instead, we ask, is TIF a good way to pay for it? On one hand, it's hard to know whether the streetcar directly increases the city's property tax base. And one could argue that, if new development would have happened anyway, then using TIF keeps property tax rates higher, or diverts resources from other budget priorities. On the other hand, TIF could be Milwaukee's only real option under state law, beyond the general property tax. And studies show that property values often do rise near new rail transit stations. If they do, then using TIF could take advantage of that growth by drawing revenue from the areas that most benefit from the streetcar, instead of from all city property taxpayers. No matter how you feel about the HOP, it's important to understand why city leaders are leaning on TIF so much to pay for it, and what that means for taxpayers and future extensions. Municipal governments in Wisconsin have limited tools to attract economic development and pay for transit infrastructure. And that's a policy issue worth talking about.